everyone. Welcome to our Q&A session. Thank you so much for submitting your questions. They were great. I'm very grateful to you for sharing what you did and asking the questions. So what we're going to talk about today are a few things in response to your questions. There were a few questions about anger, so we'll talk about that, about building self-confidence, about cultivating courage, right, of creating and working on building up your courage. We'll also talk about comparing yourself to others and how that can be harmful. And we'll also talk about kind of what's the point of mindfulness? Why are we doing this? Why are we spending time learning it, right? Why are we listening to the bell? So let's start off with how we usually start class, which is listening to the bell. And so if you can get your mindful bodies on, right? So we're sitting up straight, but not super stiff straight. Our feet are flat on the ground, and you can close your eyes or gaze downward if you want. And I want you to listen really carefully to the beginning, the middle, and the end, all right? And raise your hand when you're done, or when you stop hearing it. Here we go. One of the questions we had a few times is, why do we listen to the bell? Or what is the bell for? And the bell helps us practice mindfulness of sound, right? We're purposefully putting our attention on the sound of the bell. And this particular bell has a nice long ring to it so that you can really pay attention to the beginning, the middle, and the end like I instructed. And that helps us train the mind to pay attention, right? And that's an important part of mindfulness. All right. So I want to just remind you the definition of mindfulness. We've been taking a lot of classes around it. I just want to refresh your memory. So mindfulness is the ability to stay in the present moment, right? To stay with the experience that we're having right now with kindness and curiosity. And so when our minds, remember our glitter jar? When our minds are like this, right? All swirly, or our bodies, our emotions, our feelings, mindfulness helps us to calm them down, right? To make them less fast, to notice when they are fast, right? And we do that through breath, deep breaths, longer exhales and inhales. We do that with heartfulness. May I be happy. May I be healthy. May I be peaceful. We do that with being able to notice what's happening around us when we're anxious, right? So I see 3 things, I hear 3 things, and I can feel 3 things. So all techniques to help the glitter jar be calm, right? Or settle at the bottom. So sometimes we can get overwhelmed, and our mind is like these glitter sparks, right? It's swirling and swirling and swirling, right? That's what it sometimes feels like inside. But if we can start some mindfulness techniques, maybe breathing where our exhale's longer than our inhale. Right? They'll slowly start to settle. We will slowly start to settle and have some clarity around how we're feeling or what we're thinking. one of the benefits of mindfulness. I said mindfulness is the ability to stay in the present moment, right? To stay with our experience with curiosity and kindness. And it might be helpful for me to describe what mindfulness is not, okay? So mindfulness is not pushing away thoughts or trying to not think of anything at all, right? We want to notice our thoughts. We don't want to push it away. We don't want to pretend they're not there, right? We want to notice them. And our feelings as well, right? We don't want to shut down. If we're having an uncomfortable feeling, we want to be able to notice that. Mindfulness is not being happy all the time, right? That's just not reality. Being human means we're going to have some tough times as well as some good times. And right, how do we go through the tough times without causing us more suffering? Mindfulness is not never planning for the future, right? Of course we have to plan for things, right? You need to plan for a project. You need to plan for studying for a test. You need to plan for a trip. What it is noticing what's happening right now so that we have a choice, so that we can make a choice, right, on how we behave. And then it's not a relaxation exercise, although it's often a byproduct, right? It helps us calm down because we are noticing what's happening now. And because we're noticing, we're able to do some of the techniques that we talked about, which is the breathing, perhaps the exhale longer than the inhale, or some of the other things we've talked about, right? The mindful listening. So we had a few questions about what is the point of mindfulness. Some people thought there was too much, that it was too repetitive. And so just want to talk through a couple of those things. The point is to lessen our own suffering, right? The same thing over and over again. And so the point of mindfulness, why it's important that you learn these skills, is to really lessen our own suffering. So sometimes we get overwhelmed by thoughts and feelings, right? We've talked about that a lot. And mindfulness skills help us learn what that feels like inside for us, right? Because everybody is different. And then what we can do to feel better, right? To lessen our own suffering. That's the point. Some of you mentioned that it was boring or repetitive. It's repetitive because just like playing a sport or learning an instrument or learning how to sing, you have to practice. And remember how we talked about our brains are Velcro for negative experiences, right? Remember I brought in those props, and they're Teflon for positive ones. So we automatically go to a negative place when things happen to us. And in order to not automatically go there, right? In order to notice that, oh, I am going there, we have to practice. Our brains need to be trained to notice and choose a different path. And again, that will ultimately lessen our suffering. It may be boring right now, but I would encourage you to investigate that. Oh, I'm bored. This is boring. Why is it boring? Right? What does it feel to be bored? Investigate how that feels in your body and learn a little bit about why you feel that way and how you want to respond. Self-confidence. So we had a lot of questions about how mindfulness can help strengthen self-confidence. And there's a few different things I want to share here. One being that it's really important to remember that we are all human beings in the respect that we all have emotions and thoughts and feelings that can be overwhelming, right? And to be really, really careful about what you see on social media sites like Twitch, and Snapchat, YouTube. People are only showing you what they want to show you, right? And they may appear cool, calm, and collected, right? I'm a normie, so, bear with me here. But they may appear that way, but in reality, they're struggling with different things just like you are, right? They have fears like you do. They have periods of time where they're overwhelmed just like you do. We are only seeing just a microscopic view of who they are. It's really important to remember that. And comparing yourself to others is always a losing situation. You will always not compare well. That's inherent to that exercise. Right? So be really careful about what you see and notice when you compare yourself to others. And again, we're noticing when we're doing this, right? We're not noticing and then going, oh, I shouldn't have been doing that I shouldn't have that feeling, I shouldn't have that thought. We just want to notice so that maybe the next time we can choose something differently. The other thing I would say is remember the heartfulness practice. May I be happy. May I be healthy. May I be peaceful. Right? A couple weeks ago, I came in and I told you that I was saying that to myself in the parking lot because I was particularly hard on myself that day. Right? I didn't like the way that I responded to some things, and I was having a lot of negative thoughts towards me. We don't always see what's happening behind the scenes of a person, right? So somebody may seem really confident, or again, that they've got everything together, that they have no worries. But the truth is, we all have worries, right? We all are trying to better understand what it means to be human and manage this intensity. So we're a lot more alike than we are different. So remembering that is key. There's a famous saying out there, peace in oneself, peace in the world, right? So if you're okay inside, you're going to be okay to others, whether that's your mom or your dad or your best friend or even your pet, right? So that heartfulness can really be a big game changer for you if you remember it. May I be happy, may I be healthy, may I be peaceful. Repeatedly, as many times as we want, even when we're going to sleep at night, right, as we're lying in bed. That sending kindness and caring towards ourselves automatically warms the heart, right? Courage. So we had a few questions about courage and how to work through being scared to perform or scared to play a sport, about being nervous. So if you find yourself in a situation where you need some self-confidence to do something, whether it is a performance or even something that is really uncomfortable, like talking to somebody that you don't really want to talk to, or doing something that is you really don't want to do, but you feel you have to. There are a few things that you can do that can help make those situations a little bit easier. One of them is the victory sign. Okay, so across the world, doesn't matter where you live, South America, Europe, Africa, when you cross a finish line, nearly every human being raises their arms like this, right? The victory raise. And why it's universal is because it actually physically makes you feel good. Gives you a feeling and a sense of accomplishment, right? That you crossed the finish line. So it's actually part of being human. So if you are in that type of situation and you need to have a little bit of spark around self-confidence and feeling good, you can even go to the bathroom stall and do this, right? So nobody sees you. Raise your hands like this, right? In the victory sign. You will, if you're willing to notice and not just rush through it, you will feel that kind of surge of accomplishment. And that's actually been proven scientifically. So that's one way. Another way is to anchor yourself in the moment again, right? So take in a deep breath and then exhale very slowly. Right? Feel your feet on the ground. Wiggle your toes. Right? Get really grounded in that present moment so that your fears, ideally, around the situation will calm down a little bit. And remember, we did the freak out formula, right? Another way is notice 3 things that you see. Notice 3 things that you hear. Right? Notice 3 things that you feel. Right? You're getting grounded in your body. You're getting to know what you need in order to do some of the tough things, like being in a comfortable situation that you cannot get out of. And another way is to take those deep breaths, right? And so we want to make sure our exhale is longer than our inhale. And so we take a deep breath. Remember, you may feel it in different places. I feel it in the belly, so I really want to take a deep belly breath. And then slowly exhale. As slow as you can, and then do it again. And you may need to do it 10 times, or you may only need to do it twice, right? It depends on the situation and how your own body and mind need to work. So we've had a few more questions about the breath and why we always, or why we often focus on the breath. And there's a few reasons why we do that. One is because it's always available, right? It's always with us if we're alive on this earth. So it's easy to access at any time, right? Another reason is if we notice the breath, it immediately brings us to the present moment, right? And that's what we're trying to accomplish with mindfulness, right? Noticing what's happening in our experience right now. So noticing the breath immediately helps us do that. It also makes us aware of our body and its rhythms, right? So when we're anxious, our breath is really shallow and fast, right? So it helps us notice that. Oh, my breath is doing this. I'm anxious. What can I do to help myself calm down, right? It helps us get to understand how our mind and body work together so that we can make a choice on how we want to respond, right? We can do one of our techniques. To jump around, right? If you are focusing on the breath and the mind has a thought, which it will, right? It helps you to notice how many thoughts I'm having, right? How pervasive these thoughts are. It helps restore balance in the mind and the body if you can breathe consciously, right? If you can exhale longer than your inhale, right? It helps us regulate, notice. Anger. There were a few questions about anger as well. And we talked about how anger shows up in different people, right? And it's usually in one of 2 ways. People either explode, right? Just like that anger cartoon in Inside Out, right? He exploded. And then some people implode, right? Which often includes negative thoughts about yourself or the other person, and is equally as dangerous, right? When we get angry, we have so much stress and so much emotion that we can't make a good choice, right? We are overwhelmed by this. If we can notice when the anger arrives in our body, right? So that emotions picture that we showed, right? When we can start to feel the heat in our chest rise, right? All the way up to our face. When we notice our hands clenching maybe, right? Or our face getting red. that's when we have a choice, right? So being angry is not wrong, is not bad, right? Emotions are not wrong and bad, but it is our responsibility to manage them in a way that isn't harmful to ourselves or others, right? So that's really important. It's not wrong or bad. It's how we manage it that really matters. We manage it by noticing when it's going to happen, right? So that's practice. And then choosing a different path. And that path might be the exhale breath being longer than the inhale, right? It might be, okay, I'm going to notice my feet on the ground right now. I'm going to notice my hands on my lap so that I can instill some calmness in the nervous system, right? So I can make a choice on how I want to respond. So this is a children's book, obviously for kids much younger than you, but it has a really good message that I think that you all will appreciate, and it's kind of a fun storybook. So here, it's called Puppy Mind. To your puppy mind, please be kind. My mind is like a puppy. It likes to wander and explore. If I don't watch it carefully, it goes through any open door. When my puppy mind is bored, it runs to the future and the past. If I am not really careful, it will take me far away, super fast. My puppy mind can dig up memories, like when I got yelled at for not sharing my things. My mind scampers to the future, and I don't always like the pictures that it brings. In class, I try to listen to the teacher, but my puppy mind starts to stir. I quickly lose my focus, and the day becomes a blur. I get mad at my puppy mind. Why don't you just sit and stay? When I yell, my puppy mind gets scared and hides or runs away. My puppy mind only heals if I take 3 slow, deep breaths. If I do it often enough, I feel calmer in my chest. Taking 3 slow breaths is the best way to train my puppy mind. I am learning to be my mind's best friend. It responds best when I am kind. So whenever I feel my puppy mind tugging at my sleeve, I try to remember to breathe and breathe and breathe. If I practice breathing every day and I remember to be kind, I will have more fun being with my best friend, my playful puppy mind. So even though that book is clearly meant for younger kids, it has a pretty clear message that I think you all probably can understand by now, right? Being kind to ourselves is a key part of mindfulness. And in order to befriend our mind and our thoughts and our feelings and our emotions, kindness is absolutely necessary. So I would like to end with a poem, which I usually try to do. This one is called The Guest House by Rumi. This being human is a guest house. Every morning a new arrival. A joy, a depression, a meanness. Some momentary awareness comes as an unexpected visitor. Welcome and entertain them all. Even if they are a crowd of sorrows who violently sweep your house empty of its furniture. Still treat each guest honorably. He may be clearing you out for some new delight. The dark thought, the shame, the malice. Meet them at the door laughing and invite them in. Be grateful for whatever comes, because each has been sent as a guide from beyond.